this was a question that was posed to Sridhar Maharaj at the time. How will we look at the disciples of Prabhupada who received Harinam from Prabhupada, but they are now going to receive the mantra diksha from a devotee who is also a disciple of Prabhupada? Unique case. Incidentally, Prabhupada's sister was in that unique case. Prabhupada's sister, Bhavatarini, was a disciple, initiated Harinam disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And so when he passed away before she had the time to get the second initiation from him. She approached then Sridhar Maharaj for second initiation, but at that time Sridhar Maharaj said he wasn't giving initiations to anyone. And so she went then to, I think, Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj, another close godbrother of Prabhupada's. So he had some familiarity with that kind of a situation, your kind of a situation. And great harmonizer that he was, he talked about it in a way that is, I would say, maybe characteristically a little different than the way it's ordinarily talked about. Because ordinarily it's said that Harinam, in fact Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Harinam is independent of diksha. Means that Harinam, Nam is Krishna. So Krishna doesn't depend on any system to reveal himself. He can do whatever he wants. And so, on the basis of that, it's often thought that, well, we bless someone to chant Harinam. There is no Harinam diksha. In fact, some people in Gaudiya, some people say there's no Harinam diksha. Diksha means mantra diksha. Anyone's going to chant Harinam and so forth. And on the basis of that kind of understanding, sometimes people give Harinam like anybody. I heard of one Vaishnava gave to a stewardess on an airplane. I think your Guru Maharaj. They were flying, and the stewardess expressed some interest. Who are you people? What's going on with you? And he chatted with her a little bit, and she wanted to get involved, so he gave her Harinam. So, then some people would think, how could he do that? She wasn't chanting 16 rounds first, and she didn't even know this or that, and everything. So he had a different thinking about that, which was fairly prominent in Gaudiya Math. You give Harinam, everybody bless them. They can chant even if you don't give it, but you bless them, and then they come from mantra diksha. And even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to change the names of devotees, like we've given spiritual names, at the time of mantra diksha. Not at the time of giving Harinam. I'm not sure exactly what he did when he gave Harinam, or probably like other members of Gaudiya Math traditionally. Prabhupada was a little different. He came to America. He didn't know. It was like a zoo for him. And so he wanted to basically see the devotees reach some standard of understanding and whatnot, and some acceptance of some general moral principles. And so, he gave his principles and his number of times for chanting. Of course, he started asking them to chant 64 rounds, and they couldn't do that. He said 32, and they couldn't do that. And he said 16, and they settled for that. So, some relativity, anyway, to these details, as I say. But Prabhupada was, of course, had a very powerful influence on his disciples. Sridhar Maharaj once remarked that it's very extraordinary to see so many disciples of the Guru so enthusiastic about the Guru. He says usually there's a few who are really enthusiastic, and everybody else is kind of out there, and they're involved and so forth. He had great power to draw so much enthusiasm from so many disciples. We were all like that. We would have turned left, right. We would have burned all the books if he told us to burn all the books that he would, the day before told us we should be distributing like water. So this is what we want, of course. The Guru has us in such a flexible position that then he can actually put something inside and teach us. So Sridhar Maharaj reasoned about it a little differently. And Prabhupada was a very prominent guru. He accomplished so much for Chaitanya Vaishnavism. We're all here because of his broad campaign and so forth. And Sridhar Maharaj considered him to be kind of empowered by Nityananda Prabhu for his work. And he's the one who said, yes, I think of him as Shakti Avesh and so forth. So, I mean, when we heard these glorifications of Prabhupada, we were just flattered. We were flattened, I should say. It was just so, wow. To hear somebody glorify Prabhupada with such insight, depth, and boldness, to say such things and then to support it, even to talk it sometimes as he did about his inner life and so forth. These things were had great power to endear us to Sridhar Maharaj. At any rate, Sridhar Maharaj could understand that here, these devotees who had been initiated by Harinam, by Prabhupada, they had waited to be initiated by Prabhupada. They followed certain standards and so forth. They took initiation from him, and suddenly, he left the world. What was their plight? Imagine that. So, with immense sympathy for their situation, he reasoned in an apparently backward way, but he supported very beautifully, philosophically. And the backwards way, he said, is the Harinam is the main initiation, and the mantra diksha is secondary. As I said, this is kind of the opposite in the way it's usually thought about. But he theologically then he said that emphasized that after all, as I was saying earlier today, Harinam comes in the beginning, extends himself to the lowest, and Harinam continues on into the Paravyom as well. Mantra diksha seeks qualification, and then its efficacy is reached at a certain point, and it retires, improving our capacity to take advantage of Harinam, and Harinam takes us the distance. So he said Harinam is from beginning to end, Mantra diksha is only in between. The bigger picture, he drew two circles to help us visualize that, talked about two circles. One circle is the Harinam, and inside that is a smaller circle, Mantra diksha. So the Harinam comes all the way down to the bottom and touches anybody and everybody without any qualification, and take all the way to the top, is still there. And inside is a smaller circle. When we reach from the bottom of the bigger circle, a certain point, we become qualified for Mantra diksha, and that has a certain smaller circle, and it reaches a point at the top that is this efficacy, and it retires, and the bigger circle is still going on. So Harinam, in this way, he said, this is the main thing. And he said, because also it cannot be but that Prabhupada would be the main guru for them. They came for him, they took initiation for him, and so forth. And of course, that logic is beautiful, but he also gave another logic at one point, and it was very, very beautiful. And that is, that this should help us overall. When he was asked at one point later on, there's all kinds of gurus. There's your Ragmarg guru, potentially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had Diksha guru, and Nam guru he had Sannyas guru. Keshava Bharati, Ramananda Roy was his Ragmarg guru, instructed him in Ragmarg and so forth. So, there's all kinds of gurus. We got the Bhartman Pradarshak guru, the Diksha guru, the Nam guru, the Sannyas guru, the Ragmarg guru. Krishna has a number of gurus. I said Balaram is his Maryada guru. Sandipani Muni is his Diksha guru. Radharani is his Ragmarg guru. He says in Chaitanya Charitamrita through the pen of Krishnadas Kaviraj, Ame Shishya Guru Nata Radikar Premera Unmata. I am the Shishya and the dancing in the dancing school of Radha. And her prem is my guru. So somebody asked, what's the most important guru? One time in Atlanta, not far from here, many, many disciples of Prabhupada assembled for his visiting there for the first time. And he came via Central America. He had been going through Central America and seeing different deities of Gaur-Nitai that had been established. Temples had developed before he had ever gone there. And so he was very absorbed in thinking of how merciful Gaur and Nityananda are. and he came to Atlanta, and we had beautiful Gaur Nitai deities there. So he was at a very high spiritual pitch of emotion in Atlanta, and hundreds of devotees had come from all around, mostly Sankirtan parties of men who were living in vans and so forth. Had come from all over the place. And Prabhupada was very very emotional. He introduced the song Paramakarana Pahundvijan Nitai Gaura Chandra, and then he played the mridanga himself on the vyasa. That wasn't typical of Prabhupada. He was very inspired. And as to the mercy of Gaur Nityananda. So anyway, one of the devotees in one of the classes, and Prabhupada asked for questions, which he usually didn't do after his classes. So you see, he was ready to just, go all night, something like that. So he asked for questions. So one of the devotees asked and raised a question, raised his hand and said, Prabhupada, yes, what is the best service? What can please you the most? So Prabhupada was astute, so he said, you try to love Krishna. That would please me the most. He wanted him to say book distribution, and then he could beat the temple president over the head because he wasn't giving enough money to the book fund or something like that. So these kind of questions are very mundane. So similarly, a devotee asked Sridhar Maharaj, what's the best guru? What's the most important guru? And Sridhar Maharaj said, the one that helps you the most. It's like, oh yeah, right. That makes sense. So the Siksha Guru could be the most important guru in one's life. The Diksha Guru could be. This Guru could be. One could be, and another could be later on. And as I said last night in the class, Guru Shreshtam, the best of the Gurus. Parikshit Maharaj was addressed by Sukadeva, oh, best of the Gurus. Somebody didn't say, I thought Arjuna was the best. How can he say that Parikshit is the best? He's only the grandson. No, this best is for everyone in that status. Land of Gurus, planet of Gurus, and so on and so forth. But anyway, Prabhupada said, Sridhar Maharaj said, because Prabhupada is so prominent in our lives, and Harinam has the position that he does, then they should think about it in this way. Prabhupada is the main guru, and the godbrother who is giving him the Diksha mantra is playing an assisting role, something like that. Now, it didn't turn out that everybody heard that lecture so well, I guess, and that's become problematic, but I was able to catch that. So I gave you this, right? Mm-hmm. So let me give you the Gopal mantra, and I'm also going to give you some other mantras later on, like everybody else. And, I'll be frank with you. We're all friends here. Sridhar Maharaj also gave me some mantras. And there was a godbrother of mine named Akoyananda Maharaj. Some of you may know him. He came under the shelter of Sridhar Maharaj. And Sridhar Maharaj at that time was giving sannyas to some of Prabhupada's disciples. And so when he gave sannyas, he gave the mantra in the right ear, and then he gave them the sannyas name like Bhaktisiddhanta did, which was to give the title Bhakti, and then a 2-syllable or a 3-syllable name that had some way of describing that devotee, and then one of the 10 sannyas names. So Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj. Swami is one of the sannyas names. Goswami is one of the sannyas names. Sridhar is one. Tirtha is one. Van is one. Actually, there was 108. Shankar gave 10, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur drew 108. I can't remember where he drew them from. So 108 sannyas names. So it would be Bhakti, so-and-so, and then one of the sannyas names. So Prabhupada's sannyas name was Swami. So his godbrothers used to refer to him as Swami Maharaj. Sridhar Maharaj would be referred to as Sridhar Maharaj. Puri Maharaj as Puri Maharaj. Tirtha Maharaj as Tirtha Maharaj. And if there were 2 Tirthas, then it was Kamal Tirtha, no Pradeep Tirtha. I mean, like this. That was the system. So it was pretty charming. And when when the disciples of Prabhupada were getting sannyas, they were really liking those new names. It was like they were. Not that anything Prabhupada did was incomplete, but Prabhupada used to keep the brahmachari name. In the end, he started to change it. He gave Bhakti Charu, Bhakti Chaitanya. Last sannyasis he gave in 1977, just shortly before he passed away. He started doing something like that, and he changed some devotees' names when he gave sannyas. But anyway, Sridhar Maharaj did it like this, and at the time, we were all considered renegades going to Sridhar Maharaj, who weren't ready to follow authority, but it wasn't really so much how we were thinking. We were thinking we were really under some meaningful authority here. And now we're getting the, and the new guys were getting the sannyas were thinking, I'm getting the name, like Bhakti Siddhanta gave it. This is really great, bona fide. And they were very inspired. And so Akayananda Maharaj was in the group, and he had taken sannyas from Prabhupada. He was the only one at the time. I hadn't come yet. And so he was liking those names too. And then, and of course, he was really liking Sridhar Maharaj a lot, and Sridhar Maharaj was meaning so much to him. He had so much affection for him, and Sridhar Maharaj had, drawn him in by his affection and Siddhanta and so forth. And here he was separated from ISKCON. We were asked by Sridhar Maharaj to go out and preach and try to do something for Prabhupada as he had taught us and so forth. You don't mind my going on about this, do you? No. It's a little off topic, but... So, it was a nice history, though. So, at one point, Akayananda Maharaj said, I'm going to be a leader of some of your disciples. Sridhar Maharaj asked some of us to initiate, and he said, if somebody you cannot capture their faith entirely, then you bring them to me. If you could capture their faith, then you initiate them, so forth. So, Akayananda Maharaj said, well, I'm going to be working with your disciples already. I'm working with your disciples, and so forth. And, they're used to addressing sannyasis, bhakti so-and-so, and I've got the name of Akayananda Maharaj, so I kind of stick out like a sore thumb. So I was wondering, if you could, and Sridhar Maharaj said, give you a name. Is that what you're thinking? I said, well, yeah, and he said also in Prabhupada, typically, when he gave the sannyas mantra, he gave it on a piece of paper. He didn't whisper it in the ear. I think Keshav Maharaj did that in some instances as well, and Prabhupada got the sannyas from Keshav Maharaj. That's Narayan Maharaj's, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj's guru, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. So he noticed the Akayananda Maharaj that Sridhar Maharaj was giving the sannyas mantra, in the ear and so forth. And he thought, maybe I could hear that from you, and so on. So Sridhar Maharaj said, well, if you think it will help you, and if I can be in service to Swami Maharaj in this way, he said, it's a technicality, or, everything's done by Swami Maharaj, but if you feel affection for me like that, then, so I'll give you a name. So he thought of a name that meant the same thing as Akayananda Maharaj. He said, this means the same thing, so, you have that name, and so forth. And he gave him the sannyas mantra. So when I came to the mission, a little while later, Akayananda Maharaj was then Bhakti Ananda Sagar Maharaj. He called me and said, you should go to Guru Maharaj, and to be frank with you, I say Sridhar Maharaj, but for us he's Guru Maharaj. Everybody doesn't feel like that, so I don't want to intimidate them, but whatever Sridhar Maharaj says, we don't go and say, check it out, is it bona fide, is it in the scripture, is it all there? That's as good as gold. That's as good as Prabhupada. So we don't make any differentiation like that between Prabhupada and Sridhar Maharaj. This is our Rupa and Raghunath in our lineage. So enough with the formalities here. Get that out. He's our guru in every way. Like Prabhupada is our guru in every way, and there's room for two bests, two of the best disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta, and the best of the best, and so on and so forth. So, anyway, Sagar Maharaj said like that. So I talked to Pujapad Sridhar Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, and he said, so you want the name change? I said, no, I kind of, Prabhupada gave me the name. He liked that, Say, I'm famous, So You might wonder where the the BV comes from, Bhaktivedanta. So I'll tell you that too. We were out then on Parkram for the Gaur Parkram in Navadvip during Gaur Purnim, and so each place we'd stop, one of the places of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, then some sannyasi would speak, as they would traditionally, about the place and so forth. So Haricharan, who was a brahmachari disciple of Sridhar Maharaj before we were even born, he said, so, he would say, this Maharaj will speak now, this Maharaj. And so he said, so, Bhakti, and he said, which is it? He didn't know what my, title was or whatever, And I had kept the same name, Swami Tripurari. And so, I think it was the Sridhar Maharaj said, Bhakti Vedanta. Something like that. So I said, yes, Bhakti Vedanta. And then all the sannyasis, they like that. Accepted. Prabhupada said that he wanted all of his disciples to become Bhakti Vedanta. So I kept my name in connection with Prabhupada and more, in a sense, in that way, formality. But some formalities have their use and value and so forth. Anyway, then, so Sridhar Maharaj gave me some other mantras that he had received. He wanted to give me whatever he had in service of Prabhupada. So he gave me Radha Gayatri and some others and so forth. So I share them with you also. And you use them in the puja, Seva Puja, when it becomes appropriate. So I'll give you some of those too.
Thank you.
Okay. So, anyway, this is a little bit about our family and all, how it works. It's very affectionate, and these relationships aren't based on all kind of formalities, and they can all be supported by scripture and so forth. Siksha Guru, you can have a Siksha Guru, it's almost looked at like something lacking in you if you need a Siksha Guru. But if something's lacking in us, that means we're in good health. Once I was sitting with Sridhar Maharaj on his veranda, and Guru Maharaj gave a beautiful talk, and then one of the devotees said, we are what did he say?
Completely satisfied.
We are completely satisfied. Filled up from what you said. And what did Sridhar Maharaj say? You are...
Oh, how can that be?
He said something else first. He said...
Completely?
He said, we are stunned. Filled up. He said, stoned. You are stoned. What does he mean? No. We are filled up. We are filled up. He said, you are filled up. He said, I have not attained that. He started paying his respect to that devotee. Is it possible, he said. So, such is the nature of what we're involved in here. And that's...